We got to mix the mission statement with the idea that everything is relevant. Our stand-up is relevant. Living in New York is relevant because it's all how to deal with day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Is that generally it? Yeah. And how the littlest things in the world ruin your whole outlook on life just because of one day when it's really not that big of a deal, but we've got to find a way to deal with our fucking anger, basically.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Power of How. I will be your host today, Brennan Tassif. I am joined, as always, by my good friend Daniel Torado.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
No Matt today. Matt's
no Matt.
out. So I'm going to steer the ship for the first time.
Go ahead, man. Have fun.
So how have you been?
Well, it's kind of crazy what happened with Matt because we had a gig together.
Yeah.
And we were driving back from Virginia. And then he just stepped out of the car in Manhattan. And he said, let me just take the subway because it was going to take about an hour from downtown Manhattan to get to Astoria. And then he was going to take the subway.
Yeah.
So he said, you know what, just like drop me off here in the city. So he took the subway. And then a couple of days later, he says, yeah, I have COVID.
Did you test after?
No, I'm fine. I have nothing.
Well, that was the thing.
So he thinks he caught it in the subway
coming back,
which is nuts because
we had a lot of people. I was just telling you this before the mics went on, but apparently a lot of comics at my level who all work day jobs and stuff are like, hey, is everyone at your work getting sick? And I was like, I honestly don't know. Like, there's been a couple people who called out sick, but nobody told us why.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. And they were like, yeah, everyone's getting COVID again. And I was like, oh no.
Right. Well, you know what really helped me when I had COVID was I took some quercetin.
What's that?
It's a supplement that helps boost the immune system, which was really helpful with COVID. And I caught it twice. So I was on quercetin, vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D.
Yeah, I take D and C.
Yeah.
Just on a daily basis.
We got the sun now.
Yeah.
We're good.
Plus, we got all that vitamin D.
Hey.
So, yeah, Power of How. We were going to talk about, before Matt got sick, we were going to talk about your guys' trip. So, obviously, we're going to save that for when Matt comes back.
Yeah, I think you wanted to talk about that.
It was very eventful.
I had a good time.
Okay.
But I think we were both shocked by the fact that we were expecting a crowd that was like 55 and 55 and up. That's what we were told, but the average age was 75.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk about it when Matt gets back. I had an interesting experience last night, and I know we've talked about this on the show before, but I had a show at the Stand, which was super fun. Mm-hmm. But it was one of those things in the upstairs room where the ceilings are super tall, and I love obviously playing the Stand, but it's so nerve-wracking.
Like the upstairs room.
Yeah.
Right.
Just playing the Stand or the Cellar in general. I mean, you're past there. So for you, it's no big deal. But
no, but I get it. I get it.
For me, it was like, okay, like this is, and I always think, tell me if this ever happened to you, especially when you were coming up early in comedy where you're like, you have in Montreal or wherever, you have an opportunity at like a bigger club.
Yeah. In
your head, are you like, oh, this is going to be like the movies? Like I'm going to destroy, and then the manager's going to run up and be like, oh my God, did that thought ever cross your mind?
Well, let me put it this way. I think the way we feel when we first start, like our vicissitudes are really high and low. Mm-hmm. You're high in your expectations, the pressure you put on yourself is tremendous.
Yeah.
And the excitement / fear, wherever you choose to gear your energy, is so intense that, you think that if you have a good set, you're the king of the world.
Yeah.
And if you have an awful set, you're like this worthless piece of shit. But that fades out.
Balances out.
With time. So when you start off, it's like boom, 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 and then little by little, and then it just kind of evens out. And if you have like a good set, you're like, oh, that was fun. Even if I have like a killer set, I'm like, oh, that was cool. And if I bomb, I'm like, I'll get him next time.
Yeah.
Definitely when you.
It's interesting you bring that up because that's how I feel about 90% of, because I started in 2009, so I've been doing this a while. And so that's how I feel about 90% of my sets. It's the venue that sometimes creeps into my head.
Dude, there's always like a mind fuck somewhere.
Yeah.
It's either the venue or it's the manager in the back of the room, or it's the booker in the back of the room, or it's comics in the back of the room, or it's a guest that
There's
you've invited.
somebody there,
Like, I think, oddly enough, comics do best in anonymity. Like when
100%.
no one that we know is there. I've even had seasoned comics, like comics that I look up to, and they were like, "You're not going to be in the room while I do my set, right?" And because it was a show that I used to run, and I'm like, do you even care?
Yeah.
Why would you even care?
Well, it's funny you bring that point out because I had a show a couple weeks ago. I basically did the same set list from a show a couple weeks ago at Greenwich Village.
Right.
And the only person I knew there was Tracy, which we're recording in her apartment. Her brother came to watch, and it was just him. He was the only person I knew.
Right.
So it was basically a crowd full of strangers. There were a bunch of comics there. I didn't really know any of them.
Right.
So I had I was just like, all right, let's just go do it. And that's the tape I'm sending to festivals. Like, it was a great tape. And I did the same jokes at the stand last night, but it's so bright in that room. And then Tracy came to the show, and, the people who put me on the show are like standing right at like where that doorway is. And I got so nervous. And I did the same jokes, but that room is a little tougher too because the ceilings are so tall and the laughter really doesn't carry.
Right.
So like I was getting laughs, but it's that thing where whenever I do, because I've done 2 shows at the Cellar and I've done 4 shows at the Stand now, and I always think in my head I'm going to get up there and crush. And like one of the managers is going to run into the room after my set and be like, how are you not past here? That was amazing.
Right.
And it's only those 2 venues. Anywhere else in New York, because I perform all over New York, I just don't care. But like those venues,
all of it is in our heads.
Yeah.
And it's the story that we fabricate, and it's the illusions that we believe in. But none of it is true.
Yeah, that's true.
None of it is true. And we should never give anyone or anything or any place so much importance that it plays on our sense of self, or at least our false sense of self.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our false sense, because it's not really ourselves that we're worried about. It's this ego, this how we appear, how we do in front of others, and that's just bullshit, you know?
Because, I mean, the set went well, and I had fun, and then I got off stage, and it was funny because after a couple people who were in the show came up, and they were like, oh, you were great.
Yeah.
But again, it's that fault. It's like, well, I didn't murder, so it sucked.
Yeah, but it's like when I remember when I was started doing comedy, and I would have a killer set. I would love to wait by the door and just greet everyone. I'm Daniel, and just to get that feedback.
Yeah.
And of course that was my insecurities at its highest point, but now I just can't wait to leave the club.
I'm the same way. Now I just get out.
If I see a comic that I like, I'll hang out. But
I just hung because there were a couple comics there. That the one who put me on the show, so I was like, well, I'll hang out here. And then Tracy obviously came to the show, so I was like, well, I have to wait for her.
Right.
So I was just hanging out. But normally, if I have a set, I'm like do the set. But
you know what?
It
is a smart business move to hang out.
Yeah.
But not so much to feed your ego as to connect with people.
Absolutely.
And the people who do that, I've seen it work for them.
I tell people all the time, I've gotten more from working at the restaurant and doing hangs at the Stand in the Cellar than I've ever gotten from doing 10 open mics in a week.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just being around and it's not even a self-serving thing. I mean, I guess it is to an extent. But I like being around like-minded people, comics. I love being around comics and artists and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you, because I saw this live last night. It happened right in front of me, and I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah.
This idea of ego and self. So Shane came in, Gillis, and he just released a special on Netflix, and it's a very good special. I watched it. I thought it was hilarious. Start to finish, I really enjoyed it. But I found it so interesting because Shane is a very affable guy, and he was like at the bar, and he was talking, and then I saw like one group of people approach him, and then another group of people approach, and then like just kind of almost being bombarded. And when I was watching it, I turned to the comics at the table, and I go, man, I think that would kind of suck. Like, he just wants to have a beer and hang out, and like everyone just keeps talking to him. And then 2 of the comics at the table go, no, that's exactly what we're all trying to get to.
Well, yeah.
So I wanted to get your take, because you're definitely more open-minded and more. You have a better perspective on this kind of stuff.
Well, I think. Listen, I don't have the the success in this business that Shane has.
Yeah.
But if you just really wanted to have a drink at a bar, he'd go to a bar and
Yeah,
hang
that's
out.
true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're hanging out there, it's good. It's good PR. It's good to, it makes the fans happy.
What's your perspective on like that? Like just not even taking him out of it, just in general. Do you think that's something to aspire to? Because I was watching it like, I would hate that. But then other comics said that we're all doing the same thing. And they were like, no, that's awesome. Like, of course you want people to recognize you and stop you. And I just wanted, because, you studied a lot of Eastern philosophy and stuff. I wanted to get your take on that.
I think that's a dangerous reason.
Yeah.
I think that's a really dangerous reason, or some dangerous aspiration. Because then it's disconnected to the craft. And again, it plays with your ego. It feeds your ego. It feels great. It's, getting that recognition. And we suffer a lot, so we might think we deserve it, or we might deserve it, and it feels good to get that recognition. But ultimately, I think the more your ego gets fed, like I think we spoke about this once, but I truly believe that a compliment could be as harmful as an insult.
Yeah, we have talked about this, but this is a good point.
So if everyone tells you how awesome you are every day, all the time, you might believe you're awesome, and that might feed your self-confidence. But at the same time, are you going to try as hard?
Yeah, you're not going to get any better.
Yeah, I'm just great. And then you see a lot of greats, not be as great because they either believe what people are saying or the media or whatever.
We see
it is,
art all
whatever,
the time.
Right.
The first one's awesome.
Yeah.
The album, special,
Right.
movie, whatever it is.
But we need to remember that the first one usually takes 10 to 15 years to get
That's
there.
true. That is true. And then the turnaround, too.
Then the second one is like,
it's good.
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
It's never as good. To keep that CK consistency is
Well, that's an interesting point, too, because there's a lot of comics who turn stuff over like every year. Not even comics, just artists in general. Whether it's an album or whatever it is, it's like, we got to get the next one out, got to get the next one out, which is, I guess, prolific in a writing sense, but also it's like, well, you're taking away. Because I think about it all the time. Whenever I do, because I did the one-man show, which has a lot of material in it that I talk about in a jokey way for my set.
Right.
But as soon as I put the actual, whether it's the one-man show or the set or whatever it is, once I put that out, like it's out there for the world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
There's no going back.
Yeah, that was literally from the time I was like 18 up until 35, that was my whole life, are these stories.
Yeah.
And once you put it on a special, it's like, okay, find some new stories now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that was 20 years in the making.
Right.
So there's
got to be a point when you think it's good enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's my problem. Like, I never released an album.
Yeah.
Because I always think it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And that works against me. And now, and mind you, I was ready to do it right before COVID. And then COVID came. And I don't want to use COVID as an excuse, but it just got me in this different zone where I pulled away from it again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's got to be a point where you think I'm good enough to do this and let it go. And looking back, you'll always be better, and you'll always, you're always going to grow and go deeper. So yeah, like releasing one thing is just, get it done, and you're going to have, dude, you can have millions of stories.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is living life.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have it, obviously, being married and having the kids and stuff. But it's funny sometimes, and I've heard other comics talk about this too, is like you get into this habit of like traveling so much, you're not actually living. So especially if you're a storytelling comic, it's like hard to find material if it's like I was on an airplane, then I checked into a hotel, then I went to the club.
What do you mean by that? You're not actually
like you're not going
living
out and experiencing life. Like you're on an airplane to a club or to a hotel to a club, back to a hotel, back on an airplane.
But isn't that experiencing life?
Yeah, but then what's your material? Like airplane food sucks. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right. But
I hate the TSA.
Doesn't mean you have to write about that.
That's true.
You know
what
I
I'm
mean?
saying is, like, as a storyteller, what I like to do is whenever I go to a city or even in New York, instead of like doing 5 mics in a day, I'll be like, well, let me do 1 mic and then I'll go to a museum or I'll go for a walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I do 5 mics, it's like, yeah, I can work on bits, but I'm not.
Dude, that's exactly it. But it's also, what do you do with your time while you're in a new city?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, for example, like Matt and I, we were in Virginia after his set. I wanted to know the town. I've never been to Fredericksburg. I've never even heard of Fredericksburg, but I needed to see what Fredericksburg was about.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Why are people living here? I see nothing but malls. There's got to be a small town. There's got to be something.
There's got to be something.
Something appealing. And it would be a waste of my time to not, even though I'm there for such a short period of time, to not maximize that, to not want to learn something about a new town. And Matt didn't feel like it, and I get it. You know, like, it's tiring. Who wants to go out? It's an effort. It's an extra effort. He was tired. We had to travel the next day. I totally get it. I didn't even feel like going out alone. You know, I'd love to hang with Matt, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, how can I learn about a new city in Virginia? And at least now I have an idea. And if I
Did you go out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just strolled around. All the restaurants closed at 10. So I was kind of lost, you know. I had to.
I panicked. I didn't think I started the recorder. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just. How's the lighting? Is the lighting going to be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure?
I didn't think about that either. Daniel, I didn't even think about it. Good idea.
That's better, right? I think it's going to be better.
Oh, yeah, that's better. I'll turn the other one on, too.
It just occurred to me because it got cloudy. It was sunny when we came in.
It was nice when we came in.
Yeah.
This is what editing is for.
You're so good, man, at hosting. You're so
I'm trying.
No, you're good, man. You're butter.
We're good.
So how do we flow into
And we're back. So
with light?
Yeah. So when so you just went for a walk, or did you take the car?
No, I took the car. It was like an 11-minute drive.
Yeah.
All the restaurants were closed, but I walked into a few restaurants. I walked into a few bars. I spoke to a few people, and I got a sense.
You are very good at that.
I got a sense of the town.
You like talking to people.
I love talking to people.
And you can do it in five different languages?
No, I wish.
Polish, Spanish,
my
French.
Polish is rusty, but I can pull it off.
English?
Spanish, English,
Italian?
French. Italian, I can fake it, you know.
Okay. So
Non
4.5.
parlo italiano, bella principessa, la prima donna de primavera, you know. Hey.
So what was the sense of the town?
Well, you know, it was late night, but I saw there's a lot of antique shops, and I thought that was interesting. And I saw a lot of old homes.
It's a big Civil War town.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was anything that'll feed. You know, I don't want anything to go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can travel from town to town and go to flight to, and just if you're gonna stay in your hotel room, that's gonna be a reality, and you're gonna have nothing to, you know. Nothing that'll stimulate your creativity.
That's what I was gonna say. You can't even experience anything.
But you go into museums and you go to
I love
restaurants, or I don't know what's gonna happen who I'm gonna meet. It could be a waiter, it could be a bartender, it could be whatever it is. But I would like to. I will chance taking that interaction over staying in my hotel room. But you know, staying in my hotel room can also be productive.
Mm-hmm.
I could be writing jokes. I could be doing other stuff. But
that's the whole open mic versus living life kind of reality for me right now.
But for me, there's a sterility. It feels very sterile to just be in a hotel room, and I just, you know, like Bono, I heard once when he writes songs, he hops on the subway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Or I forget if it's him or if it's another artist. It might be him as well, but sometimes he'll go to like an emergency room.
That's heavy.
Yeah, and like how does that stimulate you know your creativity, your mind, your environment, what you see? So I think going and doing things that make you uncomfortable ultimately is very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and just like pushing yourself to get out and do something even though you don't want to do it. It's like working out.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes working out. Everybody hates working out.
Yeah.
It's the result that we enjoy, but the result is also very ego based. Because if no one was no one was there to look at you.
Yep.
Would we?
I mean, I talk
care?
about it all
You know
the
what I
time
mean?
now. The gym I work at now is at the top floor of my apartment, and there's like no one in there. And I think I brought it up on this show, but like I liked going to like Crunch or one of those gyms because it's like a gym that you have to travel to if you want to work out.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you get people who really want to work out because
Right.
they're traveling to the gym.
Right.
So it was this big ego thing to like show up and be like, yeah, we're all lifting, and then you know, who can lift the heaviest and all this kind of stuff. And the gym I go to now is just above my apartment in the building. So like there's hardly ever anyone there.
Right.
No one's in there like lifting
Yeah.
because it's so convenient.
Yeah.
That I have noticed that my workouts have taken a dip because I can't feed that ego. Which I guess is a good thing because I'm still going to the gym and I'm still working out, but it's like, this isn't as much fun when there's not 7 hot people watching you. Like,
but isn't it weird how the other's gaze pushes us, and that our own, like, our inner voice isn't enough?
Yeah. And
I think ultimately you want your inner voice to be as strong as the outer gaze. I remember, I'm pretty sure it's Arnold Schwarzenegger who said this. I'm pretty sure it's him, if not Mike Tyson, but I think it's Arnold. But he said, I don't start counting my crunches. Because, you know, we do sets like 15, 30, or 50, until whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't start counting them until it hurts.
Yep. That was Arnold.
Yeah. So, wow. What's self-motivation? It has nothing to do with the other.
Yeah.
With the other's gaze. It has nothing to do with your surrounding, who's looking at you. It has to do with your mind. And I thought that was so powerful. And it's that's when it starts counting.
That's when it matters. And it's weird, the different levels. So there's people who like don't just will do the gym again. Or we could talk about comedy. Like there's people who don't do it at all. And so like they have no self-motivation to do it. Then there are people who do it, but kind of just do it here and there. Then there are people like me, like whether it's comedy or the gym, where I go every day. But there's like this different level of people but like my workout, same thing with my stand-up, it's like dependent on who's watching. You know what I mean? Like if the audience is like in it, I'm like, oh, we're crushing. Same thing at the gym. Like if people are like, oh my God, that guy's so strong, I'm like, let's go. But if there's no one there, I'm kind of like, I've gone to mics before and like been towards the end of the list and just left. Because I'm like, oh, no one's going to be here to listen. And same thing at the gym. I've showed up and like, well, I'm going to do my workout, but it's a shit workout because there's no one there to watch it.
Right.
So that other level that you're talking, like that Arnold level where it's like, I don't give a shit if anyone's in here or not.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this to the best of my ability. I haven't gotten.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard level to achieve. I haven't gotten there.
It's all in here, man. I remember in Montreal when I started doing comedy there, shows would get canceled if 12 people didn't show up.
That's a lot for
Yeah. In New York, that's a lot.
I've done shows for like 2 or 3 people.
I've done shows for one person.
Yeah.
We spoke about that too. And I heard this story at the Strip, and I forget what comics this happened to, but it was a late night show. There's only one person left in the audience, and that person went to go pee while he was doing his 5-minute set. So he followed him to the bathroom to tell him his jokes.
Really?
Yeah. I forget who it was. But what a great story.
That's
because,
epic, yeah.
And as opposed to, we all want to leave. Nobody wants to play for one person, but the person who stays until 1 o'clock in the morning playing for one person, it's that inner motivation that it doesn't matter. It's like, how am I going to grow?
Yeah.
How am I going to become better? If it's a new joke, at least I could say I spit it once for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's going to be an audience, I'll have the confidence. I'll have more confidence just because I performed for that one person. As opposed to that, that fear of doing it fresh, live for the first time in front of a big audience. Yeah. That's scary. But at least that was out of the way. So you always gain something out of it. And a lot of times, man, in my career, a lot of times, shows that I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it.
Yep.
I have to travel an hour. I'm just doing like 10 minutes. They're not paying me much, or they're not even paying me. Or there's a storm in Montreal. There's like so many snowstorms.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. And we find all these excuses. And every time I would it was like magic. Every time I would push myself and go, something really good came out of it. It could have been like me meeting a new comic, or me trying a new thing on stage, or me connecting with someone else. But it was always very beneficial, especially the moments when I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And I was trying to fool myself into like staying home. So
I mean, it's easy to do.
Yeah, of course, but there's no growth in easy.
No.
And it's
if it was easy, it would just be the way. Everyone would do it.
Right.
It's a fun job.
And that's why people have a coach, and that's why people have like a trainer, a personal trainer, because they don't have that in them.
Yeah.
They need somebody to push them.
Even when they have a personal trainer, they still don't want. Sometimes they don't want, because I did personal training for a little while back in Florida, and I would have people who they had such little motivation internally. They literally just wanted you to like say, okay, we're going to do this exercise now, and then 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then, because my whole thing, playing sports my whole life, I'd be like, come on, let's go. And they'd be like, don't yell at me.
Right.
You work for me.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, okay, my bad.
Right.
My bad.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a trainer or a coach to get you started.
Yeah.
But then some people get addicted to them, and some people can't do without them.
It's like rehab, and sober circles. And I know people who went to like 10 or 15 rehabs. It's like, what did you not learn after the first 3, man? Like, you got it. It's up here now.
Yeah.
Now you have to want to do it.
Yeah. It's like a therapist.
Yeah.
You know, a good therapist will tell you you're good, as opposed to want to,
just keep sucking money. Yeah.
And because we're never good.
No.
But if we believe that we have the tools to heal ourselves, or to get stronger or healthier, if we have those tools, that's all we need. Just, give me the tools, let me learn how to use the tools, and then like when I work out, I only work out at home. I do everything from home.
A lot of body weight stuff.
Yeah, it's all body weight, man. It's all body weight. But you go to the gym, and I could do like 15 to 20 pull-ups, and then
which is insane. I can't even do 5.
But a lot of big guys can't.
No, yeah. It's a lot of weight for your lats to pull up.
Of course. But it's it's watching movies like Taxi Driver and watching movies like Cape Fear.
Yeah.
And where you that cell mentality, that prison cell mentality, where I'm just gonna, with this little uncomfortable space, I'm gonna maximize it, and I'm gonna push myself, and get stronger. And I love that. I love the time I save. I love the money I save.
Oh yeah.
And again, I don't care who's looking at me, who's not looking at me. I know that I'm out of shape. I can't do. When I get exhausted at 8, 9 pull-ups, I'm like, oh man, there's a problem here.
Doing this again.
So let's do this again. And to this day, I'm still trying to beat my 23 pull-ups record, which is not much.
That's a lot.
Bruce Lee did 50 pull-ups with one arm.
Bruce Lee is a
dude,
thing.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you were also like a movie star and being paid to train every day and stuff,
he was brilliant. But that's the goal. Like, and I did that when I was like 25, 26. But I'm like at 21 now, so I'm not far away.
You're there.
Yeah,
you're right there.
I'm close.
You got to keep pushing
but
it.
it's just here.
We'll get
it's
you
like
to 50.
Dude, one arm.
Dude.
But it's just how can I motivate myself? And I also use guys like, Arnold or Bruce Lee to, like, that guy was 5'7", 130 pounds, and he was like a rock.
Yeah.
And
did you watch the Arnold documentary on Netflix?
No, I saw the original documentary. With,
Pumping Iron.
Yeah, but I never saw that one.
So if you saw Pumping Iron, you don't need to see this one.
Oh, really?
I mean, this one, it's in 3 parts. It goes his bodybuilding, and then his acting, and then his political days. But I watched Tracy and I, because Tracy likes to powerlift too. We watched the bodybuilding one.
Okay.
And it wasn't towards the very end that they got into like his routine and his like actual workout and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is all we wanted to see.
Right.
So I was like, oh, Pumping Iron was the better version of at least the first part.
Okay.
Like the second part, it's 3 hours. Each part is an hour. The second part about his acting career and stuff is obviously unique and new because that hasn't been done before. But the whole first hour is about him, Mr. Universe and all that. And it's like, if you want to do that, just watch Pumping Iron.
Yeah.
Like, that's motivational.
Yeah.
Where he's like,
but
when
it's
I'm at
also
the gym, I'm coming, and then I go home.
But how much of it was an act of
the Pumping Iron?
Well, because I feel like a lot of it, he was in front of a camera. He knows he's doing a movie. His bullying tactics
I think
were
that's just
entertaining.
How he is.
But I didn't know. I didn't know if that was like if he was playing the bully on purpose for the sake of entertainment, or if he was really
the
bully.
one thing that the biography does talk about, especially in the first part that I didn't know about, and it's obviously not touched on in Pumping Iron as much, but his dad was like a really bad alcoholic and would pit him and his brother against each other.
Oh, wow.
Like in hyper competitive situations. So I don't think the bully thing is an act. I think he is hyper competitive and like wants to destroy everybody.
Wow.
And and it's weird because you look at those kind of people and you go, asshole. Like, that's a dickhead. But it takes that kind of like sick motive, like self-motivation like we were talking about to get to that level.
Yeah, but
at least, to win Mr. Universe like 7 times in a row.
Right. But at the expense of belittling another person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? You could still achieve that without belittling another person. I think. And I would look up to that more.
Yeah, for sure.
Than seeing some sly tactics to
get in someone's head. Well, they said the same thing about Larry Bird.
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan, the same thing.
Yeah.
There's these fun clips of Magic Johnson talking about Larry Bird where Larry Bird would tell you exactly what he was going to do, and then he would do it, and then he would turn to you and be like, man, this is embarrassing. Your mom's in the stands. Like, what are you doing? Like, just in the middle of an NBA game. And you're like, what the fuck is happening?
And to be fair, I guess that's part of the game.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the game.
Especially when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
And I would consider weightlifting and bodybuilding, a type of sport.
But it is a mind game.
Yeah.
It is a mind game, right?
Yeah. And I wish we could do that in comedy. I guess there are people in comedy who do that. I guess I don't because I'm not a bully, but I think it would be fun to hear those stories. Like if it happened to me, I'd probably kill somebody. But like if I heard a story of like a comic going up to another comic and be like, watch this, I'm going to tell this joke and they're going to love it. And then you go on stage and do it and it crushes and you're like, what's up now?
Right.
Like just like a fun, playful shit talking. Yeah.
I think bullying in comedy was more common in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, Bird talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like everyone's sitting around the table and just busting each other's balls.
Right.
And it's interesting because I understand the concept where it's like, oh, if they're busting your balls, that's because they like you. But as someone who was relentlessly bullied as a kid, I do not like it. Because I've been at tables with comics, like I'm 35, so I've been at tables with comics between the ages of like 28 and 30 in my age. And some of the guys my age are like, oh, we're busting balls. And I'm like, don't. Like, don't.
Right.
Like, it's one thing to
and also you don't know me like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's one thing like when you and me or me and Matt or like all of us joke around because we're friends and we've known each other for a little while. It's another thing when I'm sitting at a table and I've seen you at like 2 open mics and then you're like, yeah, this fucking, you're an asshole. And I'm like, we're not friends like that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, because was there a lot of ball busting in Canada and stuff when you were coming up? There's a ton in Florida.
No.
And I don't like it.
No, there wasn't. There was a good community. Comics were very supportive. You always have those comics who talk behind your back, and when you find out about it, it's.
But that's more malicious. It's less ball busting and more.
It's not even malicious because they don't intend for you to find out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I guess that happens in every circle and in every field. But it's cool also to have like a supportive group of up and coming comics, and I think I'm such a sucker for like positive shit.
Yeah, you love it, man.
Yeah,
that's why this works. It's I'm so negative.
Yeah, it's there's too much of that. There's too much of that every day, all the time. I had a rough week, man. We couldn't do our podcast earlier because I had a friend who passed away. So I have a friend who passed away, and I have another teacher / very good friend who is dying, and all this in the same week. And so he was my neighbor Bob, and he was very artistic, and he would write poems and screenplays and short stories and play music, and he would always be outside sitting on the steps with a glass of wine, maybe a joint, and writing on a notepad, and I would often just like walk to get some groceries, and there's Bob. And then we would talk for half an hour, and then I'd get shit from my wife, like, where'd you go? It's like, it's Bob. She's like, yeah. She's like, I know, Bob. And she the whole family loved Bob. Like, we found out that he passed away like 2 months ago. And we just found out because he would sometimes travel to California to see his daughter. And so we just thought he was away. And
was he older?
He was older. He was 71.
Okay.
But he was in perfect shape.
Yeah.
He was dancing tango. He would teach Tai Chi. He would welcome us to his house parties, and it was cool because you never go to these house parties. I would go to a house party where people are dancing tango and a guy's playing the piano, and this incredible assortment of foods from all over the world, and wine and people. It's just you don't go to parties like that. You don't. I've never seen that. Just people just dancing like.
I've never seen people dance at an adult party ever in my life.
A social club, tango social club, and he was so good to my kids, and he would come to shows, and he's the kind of guy when you're having a bad day, you could talk to him about anything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like it's just not worth it. We can spend our time, being negative and worry and being anxious, and I'm a pro at doing that. I'm really good at beating myself up. I'm really good at thinking I'm not good enough. But there's got to be times when, and these are great reminders of like, man, we're gonna go. We're all gonna go.
Yep.
We're all gonna go. We're not gonna be here for a long time. And when you really, really think about that, when you really sit down and think that we are not here for long, and we're gonna die, it's such a wake-up call to, why am I investing so much time being angry or being resentful or being... And we don't really meditate on death. We don't really... We think, we're going to die. Let's, I'm going to die. Let's do... But to really sit down and think that, man, my kids might not see me one day, or I might not see my folks or any of my family members. And to really think what that means is so bizarre. It's so absurd.
Yeah, it's a real heavy thought. I think about it a lot, and I don't know if it's because I've had a near-death experience with my last drunk and almost dying and waking up in the hospital and all that. But I think about it.
How did that feel the next day? Like, how did that...
It was interesting because, and this is something that a lot of people have given me crap for over the last few years, is like, you do too much. But the feeling the next day of waking, like, because I left the hospital and I went home and I was just so out of sorts. All I wanted to do was put my headphones in, listen to a podcast, and and just go to bed. So I drank a bunch of Gatorade and some water, and I couldn't eat anything still. And I laid down and I fell asleep for like 12 hours. And then when I got up, I was like, the first person I called was my sponsor, because I was like, I need to figure this out. Right. But it was this weird sense of, it's like when you have found money, like you reach into your wallet and you pull out a 20. It's almost that same sense, but with life. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Your life is worth $20.
But no, but it's hard to articulate. But you know that feeling when you're like,
100.
Oh, I didn't have this, and now I have it. Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's that same feeling of obviously on a much grander scale. But when you wake up the next day from an experience like that, I'm like, oh, I didn't have this.
Right.
Like
but you always had it.
And everything moving forward, I never had. But I mean, I did always have it because I'm here. But it was a feeling of don't ever take anything for granted. And I still do take things for granted, not nearly as much as I used to, but it's hard to not fall back into those habits. But that's why I stay so busy, because there are days, and obviously it's different, having kids, which is what I definitely want to do someday, and I've been, working on for a while. But it's one of those things where it's like, I wake up and I do all these things. I go to mics. I go to work. I have the 3 different podcasts. I work 2 jobs now, and I still do shows.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's insane. That's insane. And I used to get into this argument with someone I used to date all the time because they would sleep on their days off. They would sleep till like noon, and then they would get up and like do a little laundry and like watch TV. And they're like, I just need to reset. I want to relax. And I'm like, this day is gone. And this day's never coming back. And now it's just gone, and we have nothing to show for it. So it's really encouraged me to take advantage of every day that I can. And it's also something interesting because I don't have any other friends that are my age that think about this kind of stuff other than you because I don't really know anybody else who does. But I think about it all the time where it's like, I wonder what it's going to be. I wonder how it's going to happen because it's going to happen. Am I going to be surrounded by friends and family? Am I going to get hit by a car? Am I going to have a heart attack because I take all this junk to work out on? Am I going to just, you know what I mean?
What do you mean you take all this junk to work out?
Well, I take like a bunch of pre-workout and like supplements and stuff, and a lot of it's good for me, but some of it's not.
So why do you take it?
Because it's the ego, man. I like being able to go to the gym and be super strong, and it helps. And it's all mental, too. 100% it's mental. And I know it's mental because there are times where I've been like on the spot, like someone's like, hey, you want to go to the gym? When I used to go to Crunch or even in Florida, and I didn't have any of my supplements on me, and I would have a great workout. But it's a mental where it's like before I go to the gym, I take my pre-workout, and that's what I do. So that's what I'm going to do.
And I was just thinking of that. It's funny you say that because I was just thinking of that today driving. I was like, why? It's insane how we know how things are bad for us and we still take it.
I smoke a pack a day.
Dude, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
And even at something as McDonald's, like
no.
Dude, yeah. That's hilarious. So with a smoke and a Coke. No, but all the research, all the documentaries that came out on McDonald's, on the food, on how bad it is for you, and people yet they still bring their kids there. They still drink Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
They still,
because I don't drink. I'm not a soda guy. I don't.
And it's one thing like addictions. Like I can understand an addiction. I can understand an addiction with, cigarettes, drugs, gambling, alcohol. I can understand it, but I can't understand. No one's addicted to McDonald's. Like people really like it, McDonald's or love McDonald's, but I'm sure there's probably someone out there that is addicted.
There's gonna be someone
right.
who's
But generally speaking, no one is addicted to McDonald's, and yet people and everyone knows how bad it is.
Yeah,
and yet everybody still run an extremely successful business, and that is mind blowing. How people know that it's not good, they're not dependent on it, and they still not only go there, but they bring their kids there.
Well, a lot of it, I mean, I know a lot of it's nostalgic. When I was a kid, we would go to McDonald's, and there's something. So I didn't eat fast food for years.
I wonder if the quality of McDonald's, 20, 30 years from back then, if it was the same as
it was worse.
Do you think so?
I'm
not sure. I don't know.
Okay. So from work, because I worked at McDonald's and Wendy's, so I know if you're going to eat fast food, if you are going to eat fast food, you want In-N-Out or Wendy's because their meat is never frozen; it's always fresh. That's like a better quality. But you shouldn't. Like I stopped eating fast food for a long time.
Right.
And then when I moved to New York, I was like, I don't eat fast food. I'll still get burgers and stuff, but I'll get actual real burgers at like a restaurant or something. I won't go to McDonald's because that's not real food.
Right.
And we've all seen the YouTube experiments where they sit it out for like a year and nothing happens to it.
And even those burgers in really nice, fancy restaurants, it's like
they're still not great.
Still not good.
They're not good.
They're not organic, and they're it's.
But the thing that I find fascinating is the way your body will reject it after a while. So I didn't eat fast food for years. And then when I was living in New York, it became a ritual because I really like Popeyes. And Matt and I talked about it on an episode when you were out of town about how good Popeyes chicken is. And there's a Popeyes right next to McDougal Street. And I go to a lot of mics on McDougal. So a lot of times there's an hour lull in between some mics. Like there's a 3 o'clock mic. So if you go up early at the 3, the next mic's not till 5. So at 3:30, you could sit in the room with the comics and watch, or you could go to Popeyes. So it became a ritual once a week to go to Popeyes for me. And every single time I get so sick because it's so bad. Fast food just in general is so bad for you. And because I wasn't eating it for years, and then when I moved to New York, I started eating Popeyes like once a week. I still I'll go a full week without eating it.
Right.
And then I get sick. But it's something Pavlovian.
Yeah.
Like I leave the mic and I go, well, I go to Popeyes now. I smoke a cigarette on my way to Popeyes.
Right.
And then I get sick and I'm like, why do I feel sick? It's so bad for you.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
But the same way that you think you're never going to have that day again, it's not productive. Why can't you apply that to your diet?
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know that
If
day? Because whatever we intake now, whatever medicine or food, that will also have repercussions, consequences, possible disease in the near or late future.
I think about diabetes all the time because I have a massive sweet tooth.
So there you go. So that same way that you think, you're never, if I'm not productive, I'm never going to have that day again. You can think that same way with the way you eat. Sure, I have this craving, I want this, but the feeling of accomplishment you have the following day when you do everything you need to do, the feeling of accomplishment when you didn't eat that burger. I was in Virginia and I was eating alone, and I was like, I was dying for a burger. I just wanted a burger. And then I said, you know what? Let me just have a chicken with some spinach, and I don't feel like eating this. But that next morning, man.
You feel great.
I felt great.
There are times where I get off of work, and it's become a habit working. Obviously, we work at night, and then my restaurant job is also at night. It's become a habit to get home, and I'm starving. I just ran around the restaurant for like 6 hours, or I was just running around doing different spots, and I'll be so hungry. And probably I'd say 5 out of 7 times, I end up going to the diner, or I go to the pizza place.
Right.
The nights I don't do that, where I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to drink a ton of water, play my video game, and go to bed.
Yeah.
When I wake up the next day, I feel like $1 million. I'm like, I feel svelte.
Yeah.
I feel good. I look good. Yeah. And it's like, why don't I do this every day? Like this, I should do this every day.
It's that same sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. It is such a sense of accomplishment to not pig out on sweets. Right. To not eat right before bed. To not go get pizza. I love pizza. It's one of my favorite things.
Me too.
But just even from a lifting, like a weightlifter perspective, it's useless. It's carbs and cheese. Like it's carbs and grease. There's not an overabundance of protein.
Right.
It's not nutritious at all.
Right.
So it's like, why do I even, as someone who fancies himself a guy who loves protein and goes to the gym, like why would I even eat it?
Right.
It's the same thing I used to go through with my drinking, where I would wake up the next day when I was in my alcoholism, and I would not drink one night, and I'd wake up the next day and I'd feel so good. And I'm like, I should do this every day. Right. And then by 2:00 that day, I'm like, I'm done working at the brunch place, getting ready to go do shows or something. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to have a drink. Right. And then I just get caught in this cycle because diabetes is a thing.
Dude, everything is a thing.
Yeah.
Even a common cold, man. If I work out and I have a show and I'm drinking alcohol, and I don't sleep well, my immune system is
gone.
Weaker.
Yeah.
And so knowing that, I know the recipes to like strengthen my immune system. I know what to do when I'm not taking care of it, but it's to be aware of. It's not only diabetes, but it could be as simple as a common cold, and that you lose like a week of just because you weren't careful and you weren't balancing out doing a few things,
doing bad things on one day, whether it's drinking or drugs or like you're saying, not taking care of yourself, can have a lasting effect for a lot longer. Like if you run down your immune system and you get sick, now you're out for a week.
Right.
Now you're out for 2 weeks.
Right.
If you would have just gone to sleep a little earlier that night, you would have been fine. I think about that a lot. And it's also interesting, too, because the reason I kept bringing up diabetes is because when I was drinking, I would drink spiced rum with Mountain Dew. And I remember I told that to my sister, my older sister, and she goes, Brennan, do you know how much sugar you're taking in on a night? I'm going through a 2 liter of Code Red Cherry Mountain Dew a night. And she's like, that's an insane amount of sugar. And I never thought about the sugar.
Right.
I was always so concerned. And spiced rum has a ton of, it's made from sugar cane.
Right, because we're young.
Yeah.
We're young. Right.
I didn't even care.
Right.
And now I've gotten so addicted to the sugar that even though I've been sober for over 5 years, I still have a massive sweet tooth.
Yeah.
And it's something that sticks out to me all the time because it's like, there's no way, even though I work out, even though I try to eat healthy.
You try the peanut butter, though, right?
Yes. So for those of you listening, This is a trick that Daniel has taught me. I got a big jar of peanut butter, and now when I really want something sweet, especially late at night, I just take a scoop of that and eat it. Or sometimes I'll mix it with non-fat yogurt and like blend it up almost into like a
smoothie,
like a little smoothie.
Right.
And that has been super beneficial.
Yeah.
I forgot you're the one who told me about that.
Yeah.
I have a big thing of peanut butter in my pantry now.
What a difference, man.
Sometimes I just have the peanut butter in there. Because I'll run out of groceries, but I still like it's such a big thing of peanut butter that I'll just be eating peanut butter, protein shakes and peanut butter.
Yeah. It's like everything we take in, even like now we don't use deodorants anymore. We instead of deodorants, what works like a miracle is lemon or lime.
Oh, really?
Bro, there's so many chemicals, even in what is supposedly like
the Toms
natural,
and all that,
right?
yeah.
Man, it's when you read what's in there, it's like, holy crap! You're putting this on your body
every day.
Every day.
Sometimes 3 or 4. Like I put on deodorant like 3 times a day.
Yeah, try. Just honestly, it's incredible. The whole family's on it. We smell like lime.
Lime? You do lime or lemon?
One or the other, and you don't smell anything. It's dude. It's
an antibacterial citrus.
Yeah. And it just kills any odor.
The acid burns everything.
It's I don't know what it does, but it works.
Well, I've gotten lemon in a cut before, so I know it burns something.
Right.
It's
But try that, and now instead of investing into like a bar of whatever you're buying and putting on your body, just try lemon or lime.
It's interesting you bring that up because in certain circles with the super secret community I'm a part of, they tell people not to get traditional deodorants because there's alcohol in it.
Really?
So there's
right.
There's certain things. So obviously every human body is different, and some things affect people in different ways. There are some people who are like, I don't know how you work at a bar and be sober. That's insane. Like work at a restaurant. That's crazy. How do you do comedy? I could never be around alcohol if I wanted to be sober. And obviously that's different for me.
Right.
There are some people who have such an acute sensitivity to alcohol that if it's on their deodorant, it'll absorb into or cologne. It'll absorb into their skin, and they get this craving for it. It triggers a craving. Swear to God, I've seen it firsthand. And so I know people who do not the lemon and lime thing, but they'll do the Tom's natural. Right. And I didn't realize there were so many chemicals in that too. I had to get it when I had one of the ankle monitors. It was an alcohol and drug detector. So basically, it had like a little monitor on it. On this big rig, and then it would measure your sweat.
Okay.
So you would sweat down your leg, and then the little sensor would like measure the alcohol and stuff in your sweat. And I remember when I had that, they were like, you have to switch to all natural everything. No hairspray, no hair gels, because there's alcohol in that stuff. And they're like, if you absorb even the slightest bit of alcohol, the sensor will pick it up.
Wow.
Because I used to think my sponsor was insane for being like, change your deodorant, change this. And then when I got arrested that last time, and they were like, oh, no, your body will absorb alcohol in all sorts of ways. Because I had the sensor on now.
That would be awesome if you get caught drinking and driving. You're like, no, it's not alcohol. It's my deodorant.
It's my deodorant, guys.
That's not what you think. But yeah, we're so unaware of what we put on our bodies and what we intake. And
even stuff I don't mean to interrupt, but this is something you brought this just triggered in my head. I worked at a restaurant for breakfast, lunch, and brunch for 5 years back in Florida. They're all over the place. It's a really good restaurant, and I really enjoy it. But there's like one of their slogans was, it's always freshness.
Right.
Their whole optics was like a barn kind of a thing. And people would come in, and it was fresh. But people would come in and they go, oh, this is healthy. This is healthy. And I go, no, it's not healthy.
Right.
There's a shit ton of calories in this. And sausage is sausage.
Yeah.
Whether you get it from an organic, farm-raised pig or you get it from a slaughterhouse. It's still coming from a pig, which is a fatty animal.
Right.
And so but it's interesting you bring this up, like people not knowing what they're intaking. They go to a place where it says organic or natural or fresh, and they go, oh, it's healthy.
Right.
It's like, still not healthy.
Yeah, they trick you.
Yeah.
They trick you.
It's a total mind fuck. And then we would have these juices, and they were fresh juices. We made them fresh every day from fruits and vegetables. There's no lie there. Do you know how much sugar comes out of like 12 carrots? Do you know how much sugar comes out of like 15 apples?
But at least it's not processed sugar.
That's true, but it's still
and there's
too
a
much
huge
sugar.
difference.
It's one thing eating an apple,
Right.
and your body can absorb that amount of sugar. It's another thing blending up 15 apples into one drink.
Right.
That's still, I mean, processed or not, that's still too much sugar.
Yeah, whenever I juice, I don't do
you
the
do
sweet.
more.
I don't do
you,
sweet.
I was gonna say you do more vegetable, right?
I'll do a celery, cucumber, mainly kale.
Kale's good.
Kale and ginger, sometimes garlic, and lemon.
Yeah, I'll throw like an apple or like an.
I want it to be as disgusting as possible.
Yeah,
the more disgusting it is,
it's healthy.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
If there's any hint of sweetness, I'm like, I'm a pussy. but yeah, it's even sunscreen. Like now, all the research coming out on
cancer.
How it causes cancer.
Yeah.
Like this was what we were putting on to
to
prevent cancer, and now you're telling us, but we're supposed to follow the science, right?
Yeah,
we're always supposed to follow.
You're always supposed to
follow
the
science.
Right? You know, I'm drinking bleach over here. That's what I do.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Even
science can be wrong.
Of course, that's the thing about science is you it's perfectly said. You follow the science because it's in constant motion, so it can't constantly be right because it's constantly evolving. So how can you crystallize something that is constantly in motion? Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Tommy Lee Jones says it in Men in Black, and it's the greatest line ever. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew that the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew that the Earth was flat.
Right.
And 15 minutes ago, and then he goes into the whole line. But it's like, that's true.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, it's science, trust science. It's like, that's been wrong
How many conspiracy theories became true?
became reality.
And then like the biggest conspiracy theory was aliens. You know, like you're a freak. You're
tinfoil hat. You don't know what you're talking about.
And now it's just.
And now the government says there's aliens, and everyone's like.
But now I don't believe that there's aliens
because
the government is telling me.
Yeah.
Now they're everywhere now.
Forward,
right. So it's just we need to really take the time to read what we are putting on our body. I remember once I was in this organic health food store. And I was looking at some like blackberries, and I think they were like $8 for a small pack of. And I'm like, and I was looking at this lady, and I was like, this is ridiculous, the price, you know. Yeah. And she said something that really hit me. She said, the best investment you can ever make is investing in your health, because no matter how expensive organic food is, it's the best investment. And I started talking to her, and then I said, so like, what do you eat? Like, because, I'm just curious. Because I liked the way she was thinking. And she said she looks at whenever she buys something, like it could be if she buys cookies, or she doesn't buy processed food, but she says,
I was gonna say, I don't think this lady buys cookies.
No, but she says if she buys something, she won't buy anything that has over 3 ingredients. Okay. And now, and that stays with me, because now when I just grab something off a shelf, I just flip the pack and I see like the list of ingredients right away. I just put it away. Yeah. Because it's like, it's not normal.
There's a protein bar company that's now made a lot of money with that. That's what they're marketing, is they put the ingredients. That's the label. So it's not like some fancy
eggs.
Yeah, it'll say like 2 eggs, 1 cup flour, 1 cup this, and that's the label. I forget the name. I think it's actually called Excellent or something. Wait, what is it?
I take them. I take those bars sometimes. Yeah.
But I like that because it's like, oh, this is just
right.
As much as I talk about lifting and protein and all that bullshit, if you look at the back of a Metrex bar, dude, the ingredients, and it's insane shit you've never heard of.
Dude, exactly.
You have to be a chemist to understand what's in it.
Yeah, same thing with shampoos. You know? Yeah. And so you do not understand what you're taking. And I know it'll catch up on. It's
well, and that's the other thing too, and that's smoking for me, is I know it's terrible. And when I first started smoking, I was like, well, I'll quit. I've only been smoking for a year, for 2 years. And now I started smoking at 25. Now it's been a decade of smoking, which is like.
Do you want to quit, or you don't want to quit?
I want to quit so badly.
So what would it take for you to quit?
I I don't know. It's all excuses. Everything I'm about to say is going to be excuses, so I'm not even going to say it. I just need to do the same thing that I did with drinking, which is to wake up and go, this is fucking over. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Oh, yeah, but drinking almost killed you.
Yeah.
I don't.
But that's the problem, is smoking will kill me.
Well, it could.
Yeah, it could.
It could.
I mean, my mom smoked for like
right.
30 or 40 years, and
she'll be like 100 years old, and they still,
yeah.
you know.
But it's a big genetic thing, but it is bad. And the thing that bothers me is, like, I was an athlete my whole life, and now walking upstairs, I'm winded. Like, I told that story on this podcast where I had a call from the PR firm, and I was in the subway, and I sprinted up the stairs to take the call because it was so loud, and I could not breathe. I literally could. They were like, all right, so pitch it. What was this pitch you were talking about? And I was like,
we are interested.
Like, yeah, and I was like, this was important, and I was
right.
I couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
just from sprinting up one flight of stairs.
So what does it take for you to quit?
I'm just gonna have to fucking quit. The guy who plays House, Hugh Laurie, he's an addict, and he said it's like jumping out of a plane, like quitting something like a vice. He goes, it's like jumping out of a plane. You're never ready to do it. You always say you're gonna do it, and you never do it. And then one day you go up in the airplane, and someone just pushes you out. Like, I just have to do it.
Right.
There's not going to be some big moment. There's not going to be like the doors opening up. There's not going to be. So I just need to fucking quit.
Right.
And I want to say I need to find like a substitute, but it has now become such a pathological thing for when I get done eating, I go outside and smoke. When I wake up in the morning, I go outside and smoke. When I get done working out, I go outside and smoke. Like, it's become such a habit. And Matt's got that hilarious joke about alcohol, but it's same for cigarettes. It's like, can you believe these are addictive? Like, who would have ever fucking thought of that? Like, that's fucking nuts. But they make stuff to get you super addicted to it. Right. And it sucks. Right. But I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. We're going to quit. We're going to do it together. You're in on this now, Daniel,
dude,
too. So is Matt.
Dude, I could, we could start like...
Power of How.
We could start today, man.
We're going to start tomorrow. We're going to start tomorrow. This has been the Power of How. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening.
Thanks so
subscribe
much,
on
guys.
Patreon. And Matt will be back next week. Yeah. We have a lot to talk about. Are you going to... I won't put you on the spot. Me and Matt are definitely going to be in Philly. Daniel might be there October 6th and 7th. Come out. We'll have a Power of How. Good time.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Power of How. Music by Daniel Torado. Artwork by Nelson Diaz. Follow us on all the social medias at The Power of How Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe, and check us out at patreon.com/The Power of How Podcast. Send us some positive vibes in the form of U.S. currency. See you next week, everybody.